The air in Aethelred, Julian Croft's newly minted temple of gastronomy, was thick with the scent of money and ambition. It was a $10 million perfume, a blend of imported marble, anxious waitstaff, and the collective breath of every important food critic in the city. Julian, a man who wore his billionaire inheritance like a bespoke suit, moved through the room with the predatory grace of a shark in its own aquarium. He was 29, impossibly handsome, and possessed a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. His father, the legendary restaurateur Marcus Croft, had built an empire on a foundation of soul and substance. Julian, however, was building his own spectacle, desperate to escape his father's long shadow and earn the 3 Michelin stars he believed were his birthright. The grand opening was, to put it mildly, a catastrophe in the making. In the gleaming, state-of-the-art kitchen, the executive chef, a man with a pedigree as long as his list of excuses, was drowning. Orders were lost, sauces were broken, and the symphony of a high-functioning kitchen had devolved into a cacophony of clanging pans and shouted curses. Unseen in the chaos, a woman named Elara Vance moved with quiet efficiency. She was there on a PR stunt, a feel-good invitation extended to a cook from a local community kitchen. Julian's team had thought it would be good optics. Elara, whose own small, celebrated restaurant, The Hearth, had been reduced to ash by an electrical fire 6 months prior, had taken the line cook job to keep her hands busy and her mind quiet. No one here knew her name, and she preferred it that way. Seeing the meltdown, her instincts took over. She began to quietly organize, to salvage a sauce here, to guide a panicked young commis chef there. Her movements were fluid, economical, the muscle memory of 1,000 perfect services taking over. Julian, oblivious to the storm in his kitchen, was holding court. He spotted Elara, her simple black cook's uniform a stark contrast to the starch whites of his brigade. An idea, cruel and theatrical, sparked in his mind. A way to demonstrate his magnanimity, his connection to the real people. Ladies and gentlemen, Julian's voice boomed, silencing the room. He gestured towards the kitchen entrance, where Elara was trying to discreetly wipe her hands. In the spirit of my father, who always believed in nurturing raw talent, we've invited a local cook to join us tonight. Elara, please, come out. A spotlight found her. Elara froze, her heart pounding. This was the opposite of the anonymity she craved. Julian's smile was a mask of condescension. Elara, why don't you show our distinguished guests what real, honest cooking is all about? Prepare something for us. Something simple. From the heart. The implication was clear, show them your quaint, simple food so I can show them what true artistry looks like. The room felt tight, the stares of the wealthy patrons like physical blows. But in that moment, something shifted in Elara. The quiet grief she had carried for months hardened into a cold, sharp anger. She had lost everything, but she had not lost her pride. She gave a single, sharp nod. Yes, Mr. Croft. She turned back to the chaotic kitchen, but now she moved with authority. She ignored the molecular gastronomy section with its sous vide machines and foam canisters. She walked to the larder, her eyes scanning. She found what she was looking for, a beautiful, heritage breed chicken, some humble root vegetables, carrots, parsnips, a few forgotten turnips, and a handful of fresh thyme. These were the building blocks of a dish Marcus Croft himself had taught her years ago, when he discovered her, a brilliant young chef with more passion than money, and became her secret mentor. The kitchen staff, sensing a shift in power, watched her. Her instructions were quiet but firm. She had them prepare a mise en place with a speed and precision that shamed their earlier efforts. She worked not with frantic energy, but with a deep, ingrained calm. She seared the chicken to a perfect golden brown, then created a bed of mirepoix, the holy trinity of onions, carrots, and celery, and set the chicken to braise, slowly, lovingly. She turned the root vegetables with a torn knife, each one a perfect, 7-sided jewel. She deglazed the pan with a splash of white wine, scraping up the precious fond, the caramelized bits of flavor, to create a simple, elegant jus. Every action was deliberate, a testament to years of mastering classic French techniques. An hour later, 2 plates were ready. They were the antithesis of everything Julian's restaurant aspired to be. There was no smoke, no foam, no deconstructed elements. On the plate sat a perfectly cooked piece of chicken, its skin crisp and golden, the meat impossibly tender. Beside it lay the glazed root vegetables, glistening like jewels, and a spoonful of the rich, dark jus. It was simple. It was honest. It was perfect. A server carried the plates to the dining room. One was placed before Julian. The other was placed before the city's most feared and respected food critic, Isabelle Dubois. Isabelle was a woman whose pen could build or destroy a restaurant overnight. She had been a contemporary of Julian's father, and she possessed none of his warmth. Julian looked at the plate before him with unconcealed disdain. He picked up his fork and poked at a carrot. Well, he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm, loud enough for the whole room to hear. This is certainly rustic. A charming little dish. He looked directly at Elara, who stood silently at the edge of the room. But you see, my dear, we're aiming for 3 Michelin stars here, not a village fair. A wave of sycophantic laughter rippled through the crowd. Elara's face remained a mask of stone, but her hands, hidden in the folds of her apron, were clenched into fists. Then, a different sound cut through the air. The soft, deliberate clink of a fork against a plate. All eyes turned to Isabelle Dubois. She had taken a bite of the chicken. She closed her eyes. She chewed slowly, her expression unreadable. She took another bite, this time with a piece of parsnip, making sure to dredge it through the juice. A long, tense silence stretched across the room. Finally, her eyes opened. They were wide, and they were fixed on Julian with a look of utter disbelief. "You arrogant, foolish boy," she said, her voice low but carrying the weight of absolute authority. The laughter died instantly. "Do you have any idea what you are looking at?" she continued, gesturing to her plate. "This isn't a rustic. This is mastery. This is the kind of technical perfection that takes a lifetime to achieve. The braising is flawless, the seasoning is layered and complex, the juice is a masterclass in flavor extraction." She pushed her chair back and rose to her feet, her gaze sweeping over the stunned audience before landing on Elara. "Young woman, I have not tasted cooking like this since Marcus Croft was in his prime. Tell me your name." "Elara Vance," she said, her voice clear and steady. A gasp went through the room. Whispers erupted. Isabelle Dubois's lips curved into a predatory smile. "I thought so," she declared to the room. "Julian, you monumental imbecile. This is Elara Vance. The Elara Vance of the Hearth. The youngest American chef to be awarded a Michelin star for a restaurant with only 20 seats." She turned back to Julian, her voice dripping with ice. "A star she earned for cooking food exactly like this. Food with soul. Something you, with all your millions and your marble, know absolutely nothing about." The world tilted on its axis for Julian Croft. The name echoed in his memory. His father had spoken of her. "Watch this one, Julian. She has the gift. She cooks from the heart." He had dismissed it, just as he had dismissed everything his father tried to teach him. The humiliation was a physical blow, sucking the air from his lungs. His investors were staring at him, their faces thunderous. His executive chef looked at Elara with a mixture of awe and terror. The story was already spreading, fingers flying across phones, the schadenfreude of the digital age about to descend upon him. In the days that followed, the fallout was brutal. Aethelred was a laughingstock. Isabelle Dubois's review was a masterpiece of literary evisceration, praising the unnamed line cook while tearing Julian's entire concept to shreds. The restaurant, once booked for months, was a ghost town. Broken and humbled, Julian locked himself away. He finally opened a box his father had left him, a box he had ignored for years. Inside were letters, notes on restaurant philosophy, and a thick file. The file was on Elara Vance. It detailed her career, her training, his father's notes on her talent, and his secret investment in her first restaurant, The Hearth. There was a worn photograph of his father, beaming, with his arm around a young, shy Elara in a tiny kitchen. The last letter was addressed to him. "Julian," it read. "Your ambition is a fire that can either warm you or burn you to the ground. You see the stars, but you don't see the sky. You chase accolades, but you don't understand substance. I have met my match in the kitchen only twice in my life. Once was your mother. The other is this young woman, Elara Vance. If you are ever to build something that truly matters, something that lasts, you must learn from her. Not as a boss, but as a student. She understands the soul of food. It is a lesson I fear I have failed to teach you. Don't let my failure become your legacy." The words were a dagger to his heart. For the first time, the crushing weight of his father's legacy felt not like a burden to be outrun, but a map he had refused to read. He found Elara in the now empty community kitchen, carefully packing a worn leather knife roll. She was planning to leave the city, to escape the sudden, unwanted fame. "They're calling you the Cinderella chef," he said, his voice hoarse. She didn't look up. "I'm not Cinderella. I'm a cook who lost her kitchen." He took a deep breath, the arrogance stripped from him, leaving only a raw, desperate man. "I'm sorry," he said. The words felt inadequate, pathetic. "I was a fool. I was arrogant. I insulted you, and I insulted my father's memory." He held out the file. "He believed in you. He saw you as the future." Elara finally looked at him, her eyes searching his. She saw not the smug billionaire from the restaurant, but a lost boy finally seeing the ghost of his father. "I'm not asking you to save my restaurant," Julian pleaded, his voice cracking. "I'm asking you to help me build one my father would have been proud of. Not Aethelred. Something new. Something real. Please." Don't teach my chefs. Teach me. Elara looked at the man before her, humbled and broken. She saw a flicker of Marcus Croft's desperation, the passion he had for something true. She thought of her own lost dream, the fire, the emptiness. Maybe a dream could be rebuilt from the ashes of another. She gave a slow, deliberate nod. On my terms, she said. We sell the marble. We change the name. And you start on pot wash. 6 months later, a new restaurant opened in the same space. It was called a Hearth and Croft. The decor was simple, warm, and inviting. The focus was not on spectacle, but on the open kitchen, where a young billionaire could be seen, sleeves rolled up, diligently scrubbing pots, his eyes fixed on the woman who commanded the pass. Chef Elara Vance, who now had a team that revered her and a kitchen that was truly hers. They had one Michelin star, awarded by a smiling Isabelle Dubois. And for Julian Croft, it shone brighter than the 3 he had once so desperately craved. It was a star he had started to earn. Thank you for watching our story. We pour our hearts into creating content that inspires and entertains. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload.